Hi there, I'm Ben, an RV technician here at Lichtsinn RV. Today we are going to be showing you how to winterize the 59K Travato from Winnebago. So the very first thing we're going to do is you're going to need a couple tools to get started. So the very first thing is you will need your filter wrench, which is for your drinking water filter, which is located under the driver's side bed. The other thing we're going to need is RV antifreeze. Make sure you have at least 2 gallons with you. A third gallon wouldn't be a bad idea in case you use too much, but at least have 2 gallons with you. The last thing you're going to need, paper towels. Make sure you have paper towels because RV antifreeze can stain. You can stain the floor, sinks, so we want to clean up after ourselves, wipe it up, get rid of any of that residue that's left over. All right, so now that you got those tools here, we're going to go under the bed, and I did remove the top of the driver's side bed to make this a little easier to demonstrate. Otherwise, you will be accessing a lot of this stuff from the access panel that's in the front of the bed. And as we go down here, you'll see in the front side of underneath the bed, the white filter right here. So this is going to be our first step to winterizing. The very first thing I like to do is take your filter wrench, go up on that filter, get it loose. And then what we're going to do is we take that all the way off, and whatever water you have in this, dump it in the sink, just get rid of it. Because what's going to happen if we leave that water in there, it's actually going to dilute that antifreeze and make it not as strong as we want it to be. So very first thing to do is dump that water out and get no water in here. And then what we're going to do is put the filter back on. Like that. And then just get it a little snug tight so we don't leak. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is right down under here. There's going to be 2 valves, you'll see, 2 white valves down below here. The furthest one over here on the red line is actually going to be your Truma bypass valve. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip that so it's facing straight up. Now that actually bypasses the Truma, so we're not going to pump any RV antifreeze into the Truma. If you do, it's not going to hurt anything. It's just kind of a waste of RV antifreeze to pump it in there, because we do have a drain valve that will drain the Truma. The other valve we're going to want to do is right here, right beside that valve. And that's actually for your suction line for the RV antifreeze. So we want that facing this clear hose here. So once it's facing that clear hose, what that's doing is turning the water tank off and then turning the suction hose on. This is how we're getting the RV antifreeze pumped into our system. So what we're going to do is remove this cap. Just like that. We'll grab our RV antifreeze. And let me move this around. And what we're going to do is put this hose in our RV antifreeze. All right, just like that. Okay, now that we have the Truma bypass, we have the suction hose on, the filtered empty. Now the one thing you want to do here is what we're going to do is we're turn our water pump on. So our water pump is how we're actually sucking this RV antifreeze into the system. So I'll go ahead and turn that on. Okay, and now you can see the RV antifreeze is actually being sucked into the system. And what it's going to do, it's going to take a little bit of RV antifreeze to start with, because we have to fill that filter back up with RV antifreeze. As you can see, it took probably about 1/4 of the jug just to get that filled up. Now once you hear your water pump shut off, now we can go to all the faucets, all the showers, everything, and flush it through. We'll start here in the kitchen. This is usually where I like to start. It's the closest to where you're at. And what we're going to do, we're going to go both sides. We want to be on the hot side, so we're going to run it until you see pink coming out of RV antifreeze there. Nice solid pink color. Now shut it off. Now we're going to go to the cold side. Turn that on until we have a nice solid stream of RV antifreeze coming out. Shut it off. All right, and then after we do the kitchen sink, now what we're going to do is we're going to move out to the back of the RV, and I'll show you how to do the bathroom and the outside shower. Okay, now that we're in the back of the RV here, back in the rear bathroom, what we're going to do now is we want to make sure we winterize our bathroom sink. So let's open the sink. And again, we got the same faucet pretty much as the kitchen. And we want to make sure we hit both that hot and cold side. So I'm going to turn it on to hot. And we're going to let it run. You can see I got water right now. Let it run until we get a nice steady pink stream coming out. And then switch it over to cold. And we want to do the same thing until we get a nice steady pink coming out. Right there, we got a nice steady. So then we're going to close that. And at any point, if you hear your pump running and you're not getting RV antifreeze, it's time to go up and switch your bottles. That means you're out of RV antifreeze, switch the bottle over to a new bottle. Okay, after you do the bathroom sink, the other thing we're going to want to winterize is our shower. So on our shower head here, you can either open the sink and do it in here, open the toilet. We'll just do it in the sink here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to turn the faucet on just a little bit to get the cold side. And then we're going to turn it all the way on to make sure we get the hot side. And again, you're looking for that steady pink stream coming out. And go ahead and shut that off. I always like to kind of drain the hose out just so you don't have a bunch of residue dripping all over. At this point, you can choose, some people like to actually disconnect their hose from the wall here. And that's just so it's not holding any RV antifreeze or any of that stuff. Kind of up to you. As long as you winterize through the whole hose, you should be fine. Now we'll get rid of that. All right, the last thing in the bathroom here is we want to make sure we winterize our toilet too. So using the foot pedal on that right side, right here. So what we're going to do is just push it until we get a nice stream of pink coming out of the flush valve. Let go. The one thing you don't want to forget would be your sprayer nozzle. This is one of the first things that's going to break if you forget this. So, and again, your sprayer nozzle is only going to work if we push this foot pedal down. So push that foot pedal down, hold the sprayer nozzle until again you get that nice steady pink stream coming out. Once you see pink coming all the way through the hose, you know you winterized the sprayer hose. Okay, and then we can put that back up there. And again, as you can see, we're getting drips and stuff. That's where those paper towels are going to come in handy. We want to clean all that stuff up so we're not staining anything. All right, the last thing in the back that we need to talk about, kind of one of the biggest things that people kind of overlook and forget, is we do have this outside sprayer port here. So using your outside sprayer, we're going to want to hook that up. And we want to make sure we spray until we get pink coming out back here. So a nice steady pink coming out there. That means this valve is winterized now too. Okay, what I always like to do is shut that water pump off to disconnect this. Then we're going to relieve all the pressure off this hose. If you don't do that and you unconnect this, there's a lot of pressure and it usually sprays all over. So grab that. The other thing to remember is to drain your hose. So pull the handle and just let it drain. Make sure it all comes out of there. Okay, after you got that drained, then you can store your hose wherever. Close that port. All right, then you can turn your water pump back on to get pressure because we are going to be hitting some low point drains and stuff over here on the driver's side. So now let's move over to the driver's side. All right, now here on the driver's side, kind of about mid RV, if you look down underneath the coach, you're going to see a blue sticker. There's actually 3 valves down here. So 2 of them are low point drains. One's for your hot water lines, one's for your cold water lines. The third one, which is actually your middle valve, is actually your freshwater tank drain. So that's one of the big ones that we want to remember to get to drain our freshwater tank. So we're just going to open that freshwater tank and then we're just going to let it drain onto the ground until it's completely empty. This is going to take a little bit. It's a 1/2 inch tube coming out, so it does drain kind of slow, so give it time to drain. Don't just shut the valve thinking it's almost done. Let it drain completely until you don't see any more water coming out of it. The other 2, we're just going to want to hit really quick until you see pink coming out from that RV antifreeze. Just like that. Now that means we winterize those lines all the way down to this valve. If we forget them, that's a good place for it to freeze and break. So make sure you come over here and hit these valves. And again, drain your tank here. Coming up here to the back of the RV, we do also have another thing that a lot of people do forget about. And that's your black tank flush, which is right here on the back. And it's called Santa Flush. The one thing with this is you are going to want to get some kind of aftermarket thing that you can blow this line out using air. So what we'll do is we'll screw that in. There's a little air nozzle on the end that you hook an air hose up to. Hook that up, just give it a quick shot of air just so that's not holding any water. I do see a lot of these broke, so it's a good idea to get something like this and make sure you do remember to hit that. The other thing is right down below, just for our dumps, make sure after you're done winterizing that we do a full dump, get everything out of your tanks so we didn't accidentally forget our tank was full, any of that stuff. Give it the chance to freeze and break on any of that. So just make sure we do dump those tanks. Now to finish up winterizing, we're gonna go back inside. There's a couple more steps inside that we have to do just to finish up on the winterizing. Okay, now that we're back in the RV, a couple things that we have to do to finish up. So one of the main things you want to remember too is take a little bit of your extra RV antifreeze, and we're actually gonna dump it down all of your drains. So we're in the kitchen here. I'll show you the kitchen. Pretty much just take a little bit, maybe get about a cup going down there. And that's to winterize the actual trap that's down underneath the sink, so it's not holding any water. And you'll want to do that to your bathroom and, you know, also down your shower drains too. Just hit all of your drains pretty much. Make sure that they are winterized. After you do that, most of our winterizing is done, but there is a couple steps that we still have to do underneath this bed. So the very first step that we're going to do is, now we're going to pull that hose back out of your RV antifreeze. Put the cap on, just so we don't leak any of the RV antifreeze all over. All right. Now, with your drinking water filter here, the one thing you always have to remember at the end is that we need to empty this again, because right now it's full of RV antifreeze. RV antifreeze still can expand a little bit, and I have seen it break these before, so it's very important to empty this again. So now what I'm going to do is just relieve a little pressure off the sink, make sure it didn't have any pressure, and then now we'll come down here and we'll take this off, and definitely have some rags underneath it because it is going to drip. And that goes back to spilling and staining and all that stuff, so just make sure we have some protection underneath it. So take that off, and now that's going to be full of RV antifreeze. Let's just take it, dump it down the kitchen sink. All right, then we'll put that filter back on. Like that. Clean it up. Take our filter wrench, tighten it a little bit off of there. Okay, then after we have emptied the filter, now we're gonna go back down below here. It's kind of hard to see down here, but there is a yellow handle valve way back here. So that yellow handle valve, what that's gonna be for is actually draining your truma. So with everything bypassed still, we're gonna wanna open that and let the truma drain. Easy way to tell on that is go outside and see if you see any more water pouring out underneath the driver's side. Once you don't see any more water from this, then you know your truma is empty. Once that's all empty, then you'll close that valve again. And then this is kind of up to you on the next step here. With the two valves, you can take the one valve, put it in normal operation, which is the one that goes to this hose here. So we can put that back in parallel. The other valve, you kind of have a choice if you want to leave it in bypass or take it out of bypass. If it was me, I'd leave it in bypass when we do come in the fall or in the spring to reuse our coach and de-winterize these. I like to actually flush these lines out prior to letting that RV antifreeze go into the hot water heater. And again, it's not going to hurt the hot water heater. It's just going to be a little harder to get it out. It's going to foam up a lot more. So I like to leave it bypass and then flush all the RV antifreeze out. If you think you're going to forget, just go ahead and unbypass it. It will just take a little more water in the spring to flush the RV antifreeze out of that. So right now I'll just leave that valve bypass, and then water heater we shut off draining. Pretty much that is about it on winterizing a 59K Winnebago Travato. Any questions, comments, give us a call. Have a nice day.